Hello Year 4, welcome to this week's inquiry where we're looking at water pollution. And the WALT for this session is to understand the causes and effects of water pollution. So, where does our waste go? What happens when we pour water down the plug? We're going to watch a brief video to remind us how wastewater is treated.
Every day across the UK, over 11 billion litres of dirty water, sewage, are produced. And that's to be cleaned. It has to come to water treatment plants like this. That's because you can't put dirty water into the rivers and seas. You have to filter it to separate out the dirt you can see and the nasty things you can't. Mogden Sewage Plant is one of the largest wastewater treatment facilities in the country, serving 2.4 million Londoners. So this is all from central London, right? This is London's poo, basically sweeping through.
That's exactly where it is, Brian. You flush the toilet, everything that you can flush down the toilet goes through it, comes down this way. Every time it rains, it goes into the sewers, into those drain pipes that you see on the side of the road, comes down here, and it eventually ends up at Mogden.
So is that what the water looks like when it comes in?
So that's exactly what it looks like when it comes, it's before it gets to the first stage of filtering. So this process here works exactly like a sieve. Anything bigger than a 6mm hole will get caught on this sieve, taken away, put into skips and taken off site. Anything smaller than 6mm will pass through that hole.
So where does the slightly cleaner water go next?
So that slightly cleaner water goes to the next process of the sewage treatment process, and I'll show you where it is now. So this is the second stage, the primary sediment tank. Gravity is our best friend here. What sinks to the bottom of this is what we call sludge. Smaller, finer bits of poop. We have a scraper that scrapes that bottom of the tank. Anything solid is then taken away. What goes over the side of this is the cleaner water.
So how clean is this water now when it comes out of this stage?
What you're getting coming out of here is what we've got in this sample bottle right here. You see it's slightly more clear from what the first sample that we saw, but still not good enough for us to send out to the River Thames.
So what happens to the water that comes out here?
The next process of this treatment, we take to our aeration lanes. In our aeration lanes, we pump a whole lot of air into it, and we promote bacteria to feed off these smaller clumps of solid matter in there.
That's interesting. So you get the bacteria to eat any tiny bits that are there.
Exactly. It then goes to our final stage, our final sediment tank, similar to what we've got here. The bacteria clumps together, settles to the bottom of the tank. Anything that's clean then comes over.
So what does the water look like when you're finished?
So when we've finished, what we have is this product here. That's what we call final effluent, which we send out to the river.
Quite beautiful actually, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's just 4 stages of filtering.
That's 4 stages of filtering.
That looks almost drinkable, that.
Almost, but we have a separate process that we use to make sure that we can get water like this drinkable.
So now ask yourself the question, is all the water that flows out of a water treatment works or into the sea clean? Sometimes outflow pipes are used as emergency releases from the sewage system. So if there's very heavy rain, then it will wash straight out to sea rather than be cleaned up properly first. So what is pollution? Pollution is anything that's introduced into a habitat which has a harmful effect on the plants and animals living there. So just have a think. What sort of things might harm plants and animals living in or near the water? Now on this screen we've got chemicals, litter, fertilizers. They're 3 things that cause pollution, but what damage do they do? We've got a choice of they can cause a lack of oxygen, killing animals, they can be ingested by animals or trap them, and they can poison animals. Which one matches to which reason? Pause the video while you have a think. Okay, let's have a look. Chemicals. Chemicals can poison animals if they get into the water supply. Fertilizers can cause a lack of oxygen, killing animals. Then litter can be ingested by animals or trap them, and we've all seen the pictures of sea creatures with bits of plastic wrapped around their neck or around their shell. So what can we do to reduce pollution? We can be careful about what we throw down the sink or the toilet. Don't throw paint, oil or other forms of litter down the drain. Try to use environmentally friendly household products, such as cleaning products and toiletries. Take care not to overuse pesticides and fertilizers. This prevents runoff of the material into nearby water sources. Plant more plants in the garden, and that prevents these fertilizers and pesticides and contaminated water from running off into nearby water sources. Finally, don't throw litter into rivers, lakes or oceans. So what can we do to reduce pollution? This is your task. Now there are two documents you can download. One is a marine litter top 10 list and one is the unflushables. You can choose which one you want to do, but in both cases I'd like you to create a poster. If you're choosing the marine litter top 10, it needs to show the kinds of litter that's most often found on beaches, the damage that it can cause to wildlife. If you're choosing the unflushables, then create a poster to show what should and should not be put down the toilet. Remember to make them as bright and colourful as you can. Now it's not just down to us. We can ask our governments to reduce pollution. There are marine protection areas and marine conservation areas, especially around this country. Just under 25%, that's a quarter of the UK coastal waters are protected in this way, which means that special care has to be taken and water that's pumped out into these areas has to be really, really clean. And there are over 6,500 species of plants and animals that are found in these areas. The government brings in legislation. It makes laws to ensure that businesses dispose of their waste responsibly. So if a person is convicted of polluting a sea or a river, they can be made to pay an unlimited fine and or be sentenced to up to 5 years in prison. What else do you think government should do to deal with this problem? So, I hope you found this useful. I hope that you now have an understanding of the causes and effects of water pollution. Have a go at making the posters, and again, if you can get a photograph taken of them, you can post them on the Padlet, or you can email them to the school and ask Mrs. Randall to put them on the Twitter. See you again soon. Bye.
How long can you live without water? We all need water, it's essential for life. We and all the living things on Earth can't live without it. There's lots of water on Earth, nearly 70% of Earth is covered in water, but we can only drink a tiny bit of it, less than 3%. Which bits of the Earth can you drink? The only water we can drink is fresh water. Our fresh water is found in wetlands, underground and frozen in ice caps. We use this fresh water in our daily lives. We cook with it, drink it, wash with it and flush our toilets with it. And once we're done with it, it goes down the drain and eventually back into the water cycle. Before returning to the water cycle, the water we use in our homes goes to a sewage treatment plant to be cleaned. But sewage treatment plants use lots of energy. If we put less water down the drain, our sewage treatment plants wouldn't need to use so much energy. What could you do at home to reduce the amount of water going down the drain? We could take shorter showers, turn off taps and fix leaks. This wouldn't just reduce the amount of water going down the drain, it would also reduce the amount of water we use in the first place, leaving more of our fresh water in wetlands, where wildlife needs it too. Outside our homes, we could catch rainwater in a water butt and use it to water our gardens. And not forgetting all the water that runs across our drives, streets and pavements and into the drain. This water can also end up in our sewage treatment plants. What could we do around our towns to reduce the amount of water going down the drain? We could swap hard, impermeable surfaces like tarmac and concrete for soft, permeable surfaces like grass that absorbs water. We could create sustainable urban drainage systems called SUDs. These are mini wetlands and they can really help us out. They can catch and store water to stop flooding in our towns, and the water that settles in SUDs can get cleaned and seep slowly underground to help recharge our groundwater. Wildlife can also find a home in SUDs. And when it's raining really hard and our sewage systems differ from town to town, some of the water that goes down our drains doesn't make it to the sewage treatment plant for cleaning. Instead, it goes straight from drain to wetland, taking with it all the nasties we sometimes put down our drains, like cleaning products, chemicals, rubbish, food and cooking oil. All these things can end up in wetlands. What effect could the things we put down the drain have on wetlands? What could we do differently to help look after our wetlands? We can all make a difference by changing some of the things we do. Next time you turn on a tap or flush something down the drain, try to remind yourself that water came from a wetland and what you put down the drain could end up in a wetland.